After banging out 12 weeks of workouts on the Kizen strength and fat loss program, here's my comprehensive review. So I did do a video for each workout covering my experience on the program, but I wanted to give an overall review of the thing. If you want to get super detailed, you can check those out and follow my progress throughout. I'm going to break down this video as follows: on my reasons for doing the program, what the program is, my experience during the program as well as the results, both positive and negative, my general experience of fitness after the program, my recommendations for those that do choose to run the program, and after having my channel so focused on doing the Kizen program for so long, I'm going to give a rundown of the future of my channel and where I want to go with it. So there were a number of reasons I chose to do this program in the first place. Prior to this, I had been running 531 for about a year or so, and I was still experiencing good gains both in strength and my weight was at a good place. And actually prior to starting this program, I was getting my diet more in check and had lost about 10 to 15 pounds in the 3 months leading up to this. And even while losing weight on 531, I still hit PRs in the squat, bench, and deadlift. So everything was going pretty well there. However, I was starting to get a little bit beat up from chasing PRs week after week. And for that matter, I could have just deloaded and worked up again. I know you don't need to change what is working, but still I wanted to try just a different mode of programming. With 531, you can pick your accessories and you can switch it up, but still I was always defaulting to the same stuff. In considering this program, it would force me to consider other options in my accessories. What I liked about the programs from Silent Mike, Omar, and Bart is that they are all unabashedly natural lifters. So I didn't want to just hop into a program that's made for enhanced guys and things like that and just end up destroying myself on it. There are a couple non-fitness considerations I took into account when choosing to do this program as well. I've been a fan of Silent Mike and Omar for a while. They've been putting up free content that I have been finding extremely useful on YouTube. And in some small way, me doing this program is just a nice way to support them. And another one for me that was pretty important is that I wanted to do a film series of something. Now with 531, which I was having good results on, there's not really a start and a finish to it. You just kind of do it in monthly cycles over and over again. I didn't really think that was conducive to doing a film series. With this, it's a discrete 12-week chunk with a start and a finish and a goal in mind to get to. With all things considered, I figured it was worth a shot. When you buy the program, there's two main components to it: the diet and then the workout. There's some other blurbs about the rationale behind the program, how it's structured. There's a bunch of videos of how to do the exercises, which you can easily find for free already on YouTube. The diet is reasonably straightforward, but it is a fairly important component of the program. With it, they give an Excel sheet and you plug in your weight, your height, and your age. And then for each day, it will give you a calorie breakdown as well as a macro breakdown for proteins, fats, and carbs. For each week, it slowly decreases. And then as your weight decreases, you plug that in and it will factor that as well. But from there, as far as the diet is concerned, you kind of need to figure it out for yourself. There's no sample meal plans or anything like that. You have to keep track of your own food, figure out what foods you want to be eating. You really just have the hard numbers and you have to go from there. For me, I use the app MyFitnessPal. It's free and it does a good enough job. As well, I also weighed my food, which is something I also recommend doing. If you're going to do this program, you might as well keep within their guidelines, because otherwise there is straight up no reason to do this program. Now the workouts are the other part of this program. The gist of it is there's 4 workouts a week centered around the squat, bench, and deadlift, as well as a bunch of other exercises. Throughout the course of the program, the volume and intensity works up on both the main lifts, squat, bench, and dead, and on the accessories. I won't go too far into depth here because I just finished making like 48 videos of it. Seriously, go watch the videos. Now, for my experience on the program, this is where things get a little bit interesting. So it starts out reasonably easy. There's only 2 cardio days a week, and the exercises are based off a percentage of your max, so you should be able to handle it no problem. I also found it fun being introduced to the new accessories and things I didn't really consider before, and it was sort of an interesting experiment learning how much I could handle on each of the accessories. So everything started out really smoothly, and then week 3 hit, and I decided I was going to start trying to work out in the morning. For one, it was hard for me to film after work because there was more people there and they were always pounding loud music, so talking into the camera didn't work that well. The second reason is that as the program goes on, the workouts get longer. So I was finding that going to the gym after work, working out, and then coming home, I was getting home a bit late and then I was just so exhausted I wouldn't do anything with my nights. So I switched to mornings thinking it would be no problem, but morning workouts were a totally different beast. Since it was first thing in the morning for me, it was difficult to know how much to eat before going in, but I figured out having some nuts or half a banana or some avocado or something seemed to work well. However, even after I had that dialed, I noticed that my strength wasn't quite what it was later on in the day. It was difficult to get mentally motivated in the morning, especially when it was a heavier lift day. Was not stoked about deadlifts today. Now I somehow gotta get through a bunch of squats. I don't know. At the start though, I was able to manage hitting the recommended weight and rep ranges and was usually hitting at the top of those. But then things got really bad on week 9, day 4. I don't blame the program for this, but on that day I somehow managed to injure my left shoulder. Wow, so dumbbell incline was terrible today. I don't know what I have no power today. It's kind of ridiculous. Like I feel pretty good, but the weight is just not moving. It felt weird coming in that morning, and then when it came to the dumbbell incline press, I started losing power. At that point it wasn't really hurting or painful, it just didn't want to work properly. There was no obvious cause to the injury, which is kind of unfortunate because then I didn't know how to adapt or fix what I was doing wrong. So for the next few workouts I tried to keep it as normal. I went a bit lighter on the upper body days but still went hard on the leg days, but it still wasn't getting any better. I didn't want to injure it any further, so I took 10 days off and then came back, did a workout again, and it still was not in a good spot, so I took another 10 days off. And at this point I felt good doing the lower body days, and the upper body days I just went lighter on the main lifts just to not aggravate it. This seemed to work okay, and I was able to go hard on the accessory work and the cardio for the upper body days, so I wasn't completely slacking on those. So despite the shoulder being a little bit wonky, I was generally able to finish the program unscathed. Now for results. While I didn't do specific before photos, I was looking through some files and it turns out I did kind of take some physique photos, but they were from about 4 months beforehand, so I will leave the disclaimer that they're not entirely accurate. But it does give some good perspective on the results. And then I didn't really do after photos. I do kind of have one photo from about a month after I did the program. And then there was that one day that I did some posing, but nothing too detailed beyond that. This should give you an okay picture of what a guy can achieve in a 6-month period though. So for the hard stats, I started out the program weighing at about 201 pounds and I finished at 191 pounds. Now this 10 pounds might not seem like a whole lot, but keep in mind I had just finished losing like 10 to 15 pounds before starting this program. All things considered, I was losing just under a pound a week, and I feel like this was good weight and not just water weight. And I did adhere to the diet for the most part. On some days I would go slightly over and then I would try and eat slightly less on the following days. I still probably averaged slightly above what was recommended, but I was close enough. And I should note that when I was taking time off to heal my shoulder, I was eating about 2,400 to 2,500 calories a day versus around the 2,100 that was recommended at the time. I did this because I figure if anything I shouldn't be starving myself when my body's trying to heal, and it's not like I was blowing over my calorie limits anyway. The recommended intake for my height, weight, and age when I started was 2,700 calories a day, and by the end of the program, factoring in my weight loss, my daily recommended calories was about 2,100 a day. So physically, I do feel like I put on a fair amount of muscle throughout the program, mostly in my upper back, like my shoulders and my traps. I attribute this a lot to the stiff leg deadlifts and the face pulls, which again was one of the reasons I wanted to do the program in the first place, is because because mixing up your exercises can bring different types of gains. In 5-3-1, I had generally been neglecting a lot of the rowing movements, so bringing those in really helped me out. So once again, I was kind of able to bring my weight down in a clean fashion while holding on to and even building some muscle. So it's not just like I was starving myself and wasting away in the meantime. And so what happened to my strength? It's kind of hard to say. I didn't really feel comfortable just finishing up the program and then testing out my 1-rep maxes, since I hadn't really been training towards the top end of my weight ranges in a long time. The majority of the training in this program is in the 65 to 80% of your 1-rep max range, so it didn't seem all that wise to come out and just bang out something heavy. That also didn't really seem like an accurate gauge of the program, because increasing PRs isn't really the goal of it at all. After adhering to the diet and the workouts, I feel that it was successful. After the program, I was a little bit lost on where to go with my training. I wanted to get back into strength stuff, but since I'd spent so much time doing hypertrophy and volume work, I didn't really know how to transition back in. That, coupled with my shoulder, it was kind of a mishmash of what I did. I did kind of a lazy 5-3-1 where I wouldn't do any overhead or dumbbell incline stuff, because that was what really aggravated my shoulder the most. Benching was no problem. That was going okay, and then I got sick for a bit, and then in November I went to Mexico. In Mexico, I tried to keep up my training a little bit. There was a gym there that I got a couple workouts in, but then when I came back, I got sick again, and it kind of derailed my training all over. But since I've gotten better, I've started back on 5-3-1 with a couple of modifications. I don't have an overhead press day, I just have a lighter pause bench press day. And I actually carried this over to both my deadlift and my squat day, where I'll do a rotating week of pause deadlifts and heavy squats and pause squats and heavy deadlifts. I got this from Candido's linear program, where you really only have 2 heavy days a week and then 2 pause days a week. This allows you to still do heavy stuff, but you're not always crushed by constant heavy weight. To get back into training with heavier weights, instead of doing the 5-3-1 days, I've been doing all 5 days, and then I just add 5 or 10 pounds every week. If I was going to do this whole thing over again and I wanted to go back onto 5-3-1 and I didn't have an injured shoulder, that's what I would do. So for my recommendation and final thoughts on the program, I'm hoping that I gave enough information throughout all the workout videos that I did and with this review here for you to maybe decide on your own what you would like to do. I will say, if you're tight on money, don't even bother buying the program. There are tons of good free workouts online like 5-3-1 or Candido's programs. And if you just keep track of your diet with your calories and keep your macros generally in check, you'll move your weight down in the right direction. That said, if you are at all interested in the program and have a couple bucks kicking around, you can't go wrong with it. It's a well-structured program with both the diet and the workouts that follows a logical flow throughout. While it was simple to follow the workouts and to hit the reps and weights, it was by no means easy. There were certainly some very difficult days as well as some ones that went easier. Nothing here was impossible to do. My results were generally successful, and I can't really put my shoulder issue on the guys that made the program. I think that's mostly my fault. I also do feel I learned some things about myself on this program. One, morning workouts suck, but whatever. And another, that I don't mind the cardio so much. I've begun to work it into my training, and I usually do a few cardio sessions a week. As for the calorie and macro tracking, I don't really do that now. I don't care so much, and I mostly did it on the program just so I was strictly adhering to it. Now I just try and keep my diet in check and not go overboard on things. And I will say, since finishing up, my weight has gone up to about 195 pounds, but I kind of planned this as I moved back into strength training. I feel that the muscle and endurance I've gained on the program has kept with me, and I am still bigger and able to do more volume in my workouts. So that wraps up my experience on the Kizen Strength and Fat Loss program. Now for the future of my channel. So I've been really hyper focused on these Kizen videos and haven't done anything else for the whole time. This was to kind of keep it as one little chunk in time. Now that I'm finished and I have a bit more edit experience, I'm going to move on into other things in my life. There will still be training as I still train and I still enjoy it, but the focus will be moving into my band life more and touring, playing shows, and life on the road. In fact, while I was doing this program, in the background there was a lot of band stuff happening. We got signed, we released our first single, and now all that stuff is about to pick up steam. I'll be flying out in the next couple days to Florida to record my parts, so my videos are going to be focused on that. So thank you all for following and supporting my channel and my progress so far. I hope you like the direction it begins to move in, and I'll see you soon. Deuces.